Hey, it's Sam, and I'm making this quick video about the upcoming solar eclipse on August 21st, 2017. I'm posting this again. It's a comparative analysis of the solar eclipse that happened on September 5th, 1793, which began the French Reign of Terror. This is a remarkable study that I discovered actually several years ago, in the middle of 2015, when I was looking at the upcoming eclipses for the next few years. And I realized, since we were going to be having solar eclipses when Rahu went into Leo, which it did in 2016, I wanted to look and see, and I couldn't believe this eclipse of August 2017. What's so remarkable is you see every planet is in the same sign. Venus and Mars are in Cancer in September 5th, 1793. They're in the same place on the August 21st eclipse. Mercury, Rahu, Moon, Sun, same signs, September 5th, 1793. Same signs, August 21st, 2017. We even have Saturn in Scorpio in this eclipse, and we have Jupiter in Scorpio, September 5th, 1793. I've never seen a recurrence transit like this where 6 planets have returned to the same place. This is called recurrence transit, which means they go back to where they were originally. This isn't necessarily a birth chart, so that's not necessarily the recurrence. The way we experience it ourselves is when, if you were born with Mars in Virgo, then every couple of years when Mars goes back to Virgo, that's called a recurrence transit. So here we have 6 planets going back to where they were September 5th, 1793 on the French Reign of Terror. Now, what was that? Well, I'm not a history major, but it's when the French citizens rose up against the aristocracy. That's what preceded the Reign of Terror. And then after that, the revolutionaries, led by Robespierre, to squash dissent against the revolution, began guillotining people. So it was actually the rebels who had won then cracked down hard against those who didn't agree with the revolution. And so there's a lot of parallels that you could make in the world now with people rebelling against authority, governments, and we see a lot of authoritarian governments now. And but for instance, in 2016 with the Brexit, the U.S. election was very much, Trump was installed as a sort of kick the bums out. We like that he's an outsider type of person. And then, we also have the installation of, or the elevation of many strong men types and sort of totalitarian-ish kind of regimes, China, and we have this big thing with North Korea. Again, these are not democracies. These are not of the people. Of course, Russia and Putin, who has been, one version or another of a strongman dictator. So we can definitely draw a parallel from what happened with the French Reign of Terror, or at least the political situation that surrounded it, which was actually in a simplistic way, one of the major historic implications of the French Revolution, or was it began the fall of monarchies in Europe. Because before that, and even while that was happening, there were still monarchies all over Europe. And that means, well, England is still a monarchy, but Germany, the Kaiser, and Russia, and all over Europe, there were monarchies. There were still kings. And once the kings in France were overthrown, and the people came to the streets and overturned the kingdom, the monarch, the repercussions were revolutionary. It was the first revolution. Well, actually, it was after the American Revolution, but it was the first revolution in Europe. And so the repercussions were huge. So we're in revolutionary times, and they're not unprecedented. And that's what maybe we can learn from history. And again, they can be interpreted a lot of different ways. I have some interpretations that are based on Trump and the fact that his rise was the, throw the bums out, and now they're in power, and we have to be careful of his backlash against those who rebel against him. That's the simplest reading of the situation as I see it. He represents those storming the Bastille and kicking out the kings. At least that's the energy that got him elected. The sort of everyman, white collar, we're tired of it, we're going to throw the bums out. And then he's in power, and then those who resist him would be cracked down on, because he would then be in the form of like the Robespierre, or the one who started the Reign of Terror. I don't like to make those analyses because some people like Trump, I don't want to get too political, but that would be the direct analysis. The other would be that maybe he is the elite. Again, with him it's tricky because he's like this billionaire, and he comes into office and kind of installs his family and almost acts like he's the king. So it could be also that the citizens rising up against what he represents as the monarchy and kicking him out. So, but we see the similar themes no matter what. Now, other things that we would look at is not only do we have all these planets in the same positions, but the eclipse paths themselves are the same. This was the solar eclipse of 1793. Look, within just a couple hundred miles of Paris. And this is the eclipse of August 21st. Look at this. Within a couple hundred miles of Washington, D.C. So it wouldn't be enough. And again, these things have nothing to do with each other. It would be remarkable even if the eclipse were, even if it was just this, even if it was just an eclipse happening at the same time as the French Revolution. But having it happen within a couple hundred miles, respectively, of these different capitals is even more remarkable. A couple hundred miles of D.C., a couple hundred miles of Paris. So this is remarkable. Now, I talked about this in great detail in my web class. There's a link below the video that you should check out. It's free. And I also talk about what it's going to mean for you, because what's going to happen is the nodes are then going to change. Rahu is going to move into Cancer very soon in the middle of September. And so that's going to affect all of us differently. So you want to know what's coming up for you in the aftermath of this transformative change as well. But these are exciting times, and they're not unprecedented. They're very similar to the French Revolution. So do your history and read up on that and see what you think that the specific implications are of that.